Hi, this is Siraj, your host, Unleashing Talent. Welcome back on another podcast. And today we are going to talk about how to create a sustainable organization. If you are able to develop an organization that has a natural process of resilience, bouncing back, and bearing with the outside impact, and is still thriving, and these characteristics are built into the organizational DNA, then the existence and the survival and the ability to sustain against all odds goes very, very high. And let's talk about it in more details and understand that you have to envision an organization that is not you dependent, that is not person dependent. It survives and it thrives in its natural course of existence. Now, the question is, what is it that you do? What is it that you as leaders do in order to build the capability of sustaining against all odds into your organizations? And we will discuss 10 top picks that I thought would be helpful towards building a sustainable organization. So if you have an organization which you own, or the organization where you are responsible for a business or a vertical, then you are in a position of the owner of that organization and you're one of the key stakeholders. Now, you have to operate in the market and you have to make certain decisions. The changes are happening. The changes are happening outside. The global economy is changing. The dynamics are changing. It's a constant changing times. You understand and consider that these are the situations that can come your way anytime. What is sustainability? In my mind, it is very simple. It is your ability to exist against all odds. Now, what are those odds? They are external changes. They could be environmental changes. They could be business changes, policy changes, the government changes, whatsoever, or the need for the mankind that changes. The situation will continue to change. I'm sure till now you agree that change is inevitable, and we know it. It's a very common saying. Change is the only thing that will sustain. Now, the question is, the word sustainability and change and sustainability, in my mind, they are complementary to each other. They are two sides of a coin, right? So you have to change. That means when the change is happening, you have to sustain, and in order to sustain, you have to change. So look at the concept. The change will happen and you have to sustain. So there are two ways you can look at it as a leader, especially if you are a CEO or if you are a very senior leader with a stake in the business, in the organization. Now, there are two options for you. Either you envisage that change and get onto the flight mode, sell your organization, leave your organization, or you get onto the back foot and start cutting down the cost, laying off people. So I would call that a very pessimistic approach, because now you get threatened by an external factor and you're not able to bounce back, and you're not able to sustain, and you're not able to fight back, and you're not able to come out with strategic plans and goals to sustain and thrive. That is situation one. Now, situation two is a mindset where you do a due diligence, understand where the market is heading. You get some market intelligence, some information about the market, and you know exactly where things are heading and what moves you have to take and what changes you have to make and what decisions you have to make that would help you remain in the business, sustain your business, and then thrive. So there could be a situation of regression, but you would bounce back, and you know that. So the latter part, which is the resilience, is something which is the growth mindset. So organizations with growth mindset would innovate, would find out ways, would thrive, and would come back, and they know how to sustain the injuries. Then you're likely to think of how to sustain in regression and how to thrive thereafter, because you understand the value of the organization and the meaning of the organization, and its connect with the larger purpose of community and society and the business. So if you are that deep, then I'm sure you will find out ways how you could sustain in the market. And as I said, the other side, the dark side, and the pessimistic side of approach could be to take a flight, sell your business, reduce your business, get on a back seat. Don't think of, sometimes you might take the, situation as an excuse to escape. As we said, that the very meaning of the sustainability is existence of the organization against all odds. And if you sustain, you survive, you recover, and you thrive. All right. If you want to build a sustainable organization, number one, in my view, is your clarity on the purpose and the value and the meaning of you being running an organization or heading an organization. Understanding the value of creating and developing shared value where everyone has a certain amount of ownership. And that includes your employees, your customers, and your stakeholders and the key owners. All the key stakeholders need to understand what purpose is and what values are and how those values bring them all together. So that is, I think, number one, which is purpose and the value. The second important element, very critical again, is the ownership, developing the sense of ownership in your key stakeholders. It is about decentralization of the power. It is about developing the entrepreneurship culture. It is about creating the sense of belongingness amongst your employees. When every employee feels that he or she owns a part of the organization, that's the kind of alignment we are talking when we are talking about ownership. Number three is the sense of authority. Now, do people in the organization feel that they are authorized to take certain decisions? Are they clear about their role? And do people above them understand that and provide them that freedom to make that a decision? Number four is the sense of responsibility. It is your responsibility as a leader to create a sustainable organization, to develop the sense of responsibilities amongst your employees and amongst key stakeholders. Now, what does that mean? It means when people become responsible, they take the ownership of the success as well as the failures, and they cherish the success and they learn from those failures. So as long as you develop the sense of responsibility from the perspective that there's a lot of learning in failure, people would take up that responsibility. So I think number four is responsibility. Number five in my pick is the career framework. Now, here's what. We all come to the job, and our basic need is to be in a job, earn, remain there for a long time, run our family, and probably retire. So we need the sense of security. We need the support for our family in contingencies. A lot of corporate organizations, especially MNCs, do not have a very sound structures of employees support system. In other words, especially for their family. I mean, one example could be the government sectors. They have a lot of sense of security of their job and for their family, their retirement benefits and stuff like that. A lot of corporates hesitate in getting into such benefits that would help employee and employee's family afterwards. And they say, okay, you take your money and go. So I think that should not be the approach towards developing a sustainable organization or aligning people to create a sustainable organization. It's very important to take into account that factor of the very physiological and social and security need of everyone who's working in the organization. So that's what is career and life. Number 6 is the ideation and experimentation. I think it's extremely important for organization in the digital age to create platforms for people to have fun, innovate, and be creative and kind of live in the future. I mean, they kind of sense how the future would look like for the organization, and they start living a little bit in the future by doing experimentation and innovations and a lot of fun at works. I think that component is extremely important in terms of ideation and experimentation. So that is very, very important. So a lot of organizations have this innovation officer and stuff like that. Number 7 is what we call the continuous learning, the learning agility, the self-learning, the developing learning culture. So if you look at the organization at different steps, people have different levels of capabilities, knowledge, skills. And if you look from top to bottom, your top guys are absolutely capable of training, coaching, mentoring the next level. And the next level is quite capable of mentoring and coaching the next level. So if you look at from the top to bottom, if you're able to channelize the learning and training and mentoring and coaching and development through certain processes, which probably I could talk on some other podcast, that means you are providing a platform for people for continuous learning. And the guys who are more skilled share their skills and knowledge and abilities with the newcomers, and they continue to develop and learn. And one example of this could be when you send people to work on projects as part of the succession. So these people work on live projects. Why do we do that? We do that so that the individual learns through experimentation, through working live on the projects, and that's how the transfer of learning happens, and the individual gains a lot of confidence, and over the period of time succeeds the next level of position. So I think learning is a very, very critical and a very important component of any organization that wants to head towards building a sustainable organization. The next is having a long-term strategic goals, strategic planning, and your ability as an organization to change and adapt and align to the changes that are happening. It is something like the external world is changing, the organization behavior is also changing to adapt to the new norm. And when the organization has that capability, it becomes sustainable. So that's what I think is a long-term strategic planning. And you can look at it from the perspective of finance and business plans and go-to-market strategies and stuff like that. But the conclusion is having a very long-term vision and strategic planning. And as I said, ability to change, adapt, and align to the new norm. The next is strength-based business practices. So number 8 was long-term strategic planning, where we discussed about our ability to bounce back, ability to change and adapt to the to the new norm. And number 9 is strength-based business practices. That is extremely important. Now, what does that mean? As an organization, you have to be absolutely clear about what your core strengths are, what your core capabilities are, and you have to play with your strengths. Usually, it is the tendency of the organization to work in areas that probably they feel they need more improvement. And the same thing happens with individuals also. So you have to strike a balance while you can develop new capabilities for new products, for new markets. But it is extremely important that when you're heading into the market, you head with your core competencies and capabilities. Something that people know you for, something for which people feel you are an authority, you are an expert, they can trust, they can rely, and they can give their business and their organization in your hand. So they know that you have the strength to manage their business. That's what I meant when I said the strength-based business practices. Number 10 is value and unleash human capital. It is extremely important. First of all, you have to have belief that every individual in the organization has immense potential and talent, and it is the organizational responsibility to create conducive culture for people to unleash their talent and potential. And that would happen when the organization has the care and compassion philosophy as part of the culture. So when someone at a mid-level reaches out to the senior guys and senior guys extend the care and compassion to that individual, they value the individual and individual's perspective. So I think these are my top 10 picks for developing a sustainable organization. It's a very strong purpose, shared vision amongst all the stakeholders. Number 2 is ownership. Number 3 is authority, which is empowering people, decentralizing the decision-making process. Number 4 is creating the sense of responsibilities, learning from failures and celebrating success. Number 5 is career and life. Number 6 is the ideation and experimentation. Number 7 is developing a learning organization. Number 8 is having very, very long-term strategic planning and vision and ability to bounce back, change, and adapt to the new norm. I think that's extremely important. Number 9 is strength-based business practices, where you continue to build your market upon your strengths, upon your core strengths. And number 10 is valuing the human capital of your organization and unleashing their talent. And you do that through care and compassion. So these were top 10 picks that I could think of towards developing a sustainable organization. So when your foundation is clear and you know the intellectual part of the sustainability and the DNA part of the sustainability, then you have to think about how strong your succession planning is, how strong your organizational structure is, your ability to identify top potentials and develop them, your talent acquisition practices, and so on and so forth. And then, of course, the systems and tools that would help you sustain further in the system. The change management process as well. So these are some of the key elements that you would like to evaluate and find if there are any gaps vis-a-vis what the best organizations are doing to sustain in the business. Well, thanks a lot for your time. I hope this discussion on building sustainable organization was helpful. Please keep exploring learning opportunities for you. Wish you all the best. Thanks a lot. Truly appreciate your time.